Yeah, we on a sister ship. Come with us, we on a sister ship. Yeah, we on a sister ship. Roll with us, we on a sister ship. Sister ship, we got it. Now come on, let's talk about it. Sister ship, we got it. Now come on, let's talk about it. Talk about sister ship, we got it. Now come on, let's talk about it. Talk about sister ship, we got it. Now come on, let's talk about it. We're my sisters, we got this, sisters. You roll with me and I'll roll with you. We're my sisters, we got this, sisters. You roll with me and I'll roll with you. Substance, sis, you know we on a mission, no games. Help each other get over some things. Real strength bring change. Cause we've been through the rain. Now it's time to shine like blaze. Let's talk about life skills. We building up our quality to right wills. We rolling out of poverty, love heals. So we become the prodigy of how a sistership could be a really hot commodity. Stand together, we united, hold hands. Support each other's dreams and our plans. Doing everything we can. Just to show we understand the power of a friendship family. Life on purpose, together we learn it. Yeah, let's talk. We don't want to see you hurt and we here for each other. No matter the color, networking. That's for sure and for certain. Yeah, we on a sister ship. Go with us, we on a sister ship. Yeah, we on a sister ship. Go with us, we on a sister ship. We're my sisters, we got this, sisters. You roll with me and I'll roll with you. We're my sisters, we got this, sisters. You roll with me and I'll roll with you. Sister ship, we got it. Now come on, let's talk about it. Sister ship, we got it. Now come on, let's talk about it. Talk about sister ship, we got it. Now come on, let's talk about it. Talk about sister ship, we got it. Now come on, let's talk about it.
Mama C and Jane, it is all yours. Eyes on them. Hey!
Hey! Hi, everybody!
No quicker, got the outfit. Hey!
When them bastards run up the head.
Hey!
Stay away from them snakes.
Hey, you got a little extra.
Beams on you.
Hey! All right, I'm gonna let y'all take over. I'm gonna let y'all take over.
They can't get up on my level. But they stay in my face. My drive is turbo.
All right, I guess we're on, Jane.
I guess we are on. We're on and cooking.
Yeah, hello, glad to have you back, and welcome to everyone who has tuned into It's On and Popping with Mama C this evening. And it's Mama C and Jane today. And we're going to be talking about our new normal post-COVID-19. And for those of you who are probably wondering, like, why she got on shades? Well, for me, I think there's a glare that kind of is a little distracting, and I can sit here and literally see my own eyeballs rolling in my glasses. So I'm like, okay, there's got to be a way to deal with that. So I got on my shades. I'm just going to be one of the Blues Brothers, or shall I say, one of the Blues Sisters.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
So, you know, I'm the kind of person who always says whatever works. You know what I'm saying? If it's working. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, you know, it was a little bit broken. So I had to find a way to get rid of that glare and sitting here looking at my own eyeballs while I'm doing the show. So, you know, welcome to everyone. And Jane, it's always a pleasure to have you here with me and us doing whatever it is that we need to do our part to help others to understand the dynamics of their own lives and what's going on and how to navigate through the dynamics of what we're going through. And we're going to talk about our new normal post-COVID-19. So, you know, Jane and I were talking earlier and we were saying, you know, we have to begin now, before the COVID situation has come to an end. We can't just sit and allow everything that's going on to continue on, and we just kind of float in the boat
right.
trying to figure out which way the boat is taking us. I think it's important at this point that we look at, number one, how are we feeling right now? I mean, what is it we're feeling? A lot of people, there are a lot of emotions that people keep expressing to me with respect to how they're feeling right now. And some people are very uncertain right now, feeling very uncertain and kind of sort of lost in the source of all the crazy. Then we have well, thank God, congratulations to the Biden-Harris ticket. Woohoo!
Yes, ma'am.
We did it. We did it. You know, we came out in record numbers. So that in itself just goes to show that we got the power. But we've got to not just exercise it on this one occasion. We've got to exercise our power every time voting comes around. Because we do have a voice. We do have power. Collectively, that power is awesome. And I think that the outcome of the presidential election has certainly made a difference in terms of our understanding that. So I'm just ecstatic, and I know you are, Jane. And,
oh my gosh! Have you seen my front yard? I have a front yard the size of a postage stamp, and it's full of political signs. And interesting enough, I think I've had 8 Biden-Harris signs stolen out of my yard. But not to fret. I have like 20 of them left. So
I need to come to your house and pick up a couple just to stick out
but
front.
I want to touch on that a minute. I'm glad you brought that up, Mama C, because I think for a lot of us, this was such a milestone. And
absolutely,
speaking in regard to Senator Harris, it just broke that glass ceiling. It was epic for women.
It shattered
everywhere. It did. And my 2 little granddaughters, my son and daughter-in-law, had them watch the speech from Vice President Biden and Senator Harris. And my little tiny granddaughter, who isn't even 1 yet, started clapping, because I think it's about the air in the room. It's about the air that we're now breathing. It's about, as you said, the planning. We are going to be out. We're going to come out of this pandemic.
Absolutely.
I truly have more hope now than I ever did. However, we have to be in a planning stage now. We have to look ahead. If our careers have been, if we lost our jobs and they've been dissolved and they're not there anymore, it's a good opportunity now. What did I really want to be when I grew up? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think instead of looking at it like the economy is in the crapper and all that, I don't see it that way. I see it as a good opportunity to rebuild and restart our lives.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think that's what my daughter Tiffany and I are doing. Rather than sit around and moan and groan and attend a daily pity party over what's happened. I think that we have to begin to reinvent ourselves.
Yes.
And rebuild our lives, because we have the power to do that. A lot of people, haven't reached that level of spiritual maturity where they understand that. But I think Jane and I, being in our 60s, we've gone through a lot. We've gone through a hell of a lot, and we can tell some stories. But you know what? I think the most extraordinary story of all when it comes to women our age is that we learned that, unlike when we were younger, we think, we lose a boyfriend, oh my God, I'm going to die, it's the end of the world. We recognize that life goes on.
Yeah.
So we have to decide whether or not we're going to take the reins and now be the captain of our ships and move in a direction that's going to take us somewhere new and different. You know what I'm saying? And better.
and set the tone for younger folks than us to like set the example for them. That
I think so.
Planning and making sure that not all is lost. Even people that voted for President Trump, I think that they're feeling what we felt 4 years ago. And so,
for
we all
4 whole years.
Yeah, we came out of that. We're planning ahead now. There's hope, there's light. I truly do feel that. I feel that all around me.
And let
I
me
really
just
do.
say,
And like you said, Deb, people in our age group, for sure. I mean, this has been tough on us, but I really want to set an example for the younger people. I want them to see you can survive anything, and you can survive anything. Depends on how you're looking at it.
Absolutely. It's all about attitude. It's all about attitude. And that attitude, I always say we have to maintain an attitude of gratitude. I mean, I look at the whole picture, and the bottom line here is, at least for us, my family, your family, we have a home, we have a roof over our head, we have food in the refrigerator, clothes, to put on our bodies. And so we are grateful for that. Right now, there's a lot of things that we could be ungrateful for.
Yes.
Or not feel comfortable about or with. But I think that developing and maintaining, not just developing, but maintaining an attitude of gratitude for the things we do have, as opposed to wallowing in the misery of what we don't have or what has happened, is far more enriching for our lives. And, I always say to people, people talk about being empowered. Well, first, you have to enrich your life in order to become empowered. You don't just become empowered because you utter the words. It's a whole process. Empowerment is a whole process that requires that we shift gears, shift lanes on how we're thinking, and maybe even discard some of the old beliefs that we had that no longer work for us. And let's face it, with all of these emotions, just surrounding people and how they're feeling with respect to what's going on right now. There's fear. Let's talk about the fear thing.
Yes.
A lot of people are afraid. They're afraid of what's going to be. I think this whole epidemic has forced many people to step out of their boxes.
Yes.
Because the boxes no longer were comfortable, and maybe they weren't comfortable before, but they were tolerable. So the situation right now is not tolerable. Therefore, it's forcing people to look at life, look at their life, look at every aspect of their lives, and decide whether or not they're going to remain in the same spot they're in. Because let's face it, life as we once knew it is over.
Yes.
So what does our new normal look like? And I think that's different for every person. It's not, not the same for us, but it's up to us to create that new normal, that sense of comfort, that sense of belonging, that sense of stability that I think we all need as human beings.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had to go see my attorney about some things this morning, and we were talking about families all being stuck in the house for all those months. And she told me a good friend of hers who is a divorce attorney, his business is booming. And he really does. Yeah, he feels that it was from the inclusion of, these people living together. Now, I could tell you, I have friends who have been stuck in the house with their spouses and have fallen in love with them all over again. So that's great. For me, when I get really lonely, I just go and I rescue a dog. That's what I do. Or a cat or a bird or something.
Or something. Yeah. For me, I got a house full between my daughter and my 4 grandchildren. Yeah. And now that my grandchildren are 100% on virtual education, I've now become another hat I'm wearing is teacher. for my high school granddaughter, helping her to understand and how to develop the skills and the techniques she has to get the answers she needs for the work she's doing. And that's been very interesting. And I'm glad that I'm here and able to do that, you know, but we've got to look at all of the roles we play and what roles are because a lot of us are playing new roles now.
Yes.
You know? Let me tell you, I certainly didn't expect that once I hit my 60s, that this was what life was going to look like. But you know what? I don't feel that I'm missing out on anything or that, you know, I wish my life could be different. I love my life as it is while I grow into new stages and phases of my life. And that happens continuously.
Yeah, whether there's a pandemic or not, it happens. Yes.
Absolutely. Yep. So I think that this has given everybody a warp speed opportunity to decide what works for you, what doesn't work for you, growing forward. What do I need to get rid of that is just not making my life feel a sense of fulfillment? And you know, and I think that's why, you know what I always say, and I think if one evening I'm going to do a conversation about relationships. You know, a lot of people jump in and out of relationships, in and out of relationships, in and out of relationships. You know, gone yesterday, here's a new one today. They don't even give themselves time to look at all that they are and all that works for them and all that they need at this point in their life, and also where they are. Where am I in this point in my life? What are my needs? My needs at 66 are not the same as they were at 26,
exactly,
36, 46.
And I think, you know, people are looking for perfection, I think, and that, you know, in a perfect world, I think that would be great. But what is your perfection? You know, what is it that you feel you can kind of waver? You know what, I'm going to let that go in this relationship, or no, you know what, we're going to work on it. And it's work, you know, marriages, relationships, it's another job.
It's another job.
Yeah, it's work. And I don't know that sometimes people want to put the work into that kind of stuff, you know.
Absolutely.
Just like you were just speaking, excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
Go ahead, Jane, keep going.
But like you were speaking about, you know, recreating ourselves, but you have to be open for it. You know, you have to be willing to say, you know what, I think it's time for a change. I could tell you, you know, friends, family, sometimes they do go by the wayside because, you know, you set boundaries, and if that's crossed, you make a decision. It's a hard decision, but you have to make it.
No, you know? No matter what, as we begin to reshape our lives, boundaries is a very important part of every phase of our lives. You know, what we will tolerate, what we won't tolerate, what works for us, what doesn't work for us. I think this is a pivotal moment in human life, in human history, that none of us will get again in this lifetime.
I agree.
And so we have to really be very succinct with how we think about what we want for ourselves at this point in our lives. You know, a lot of people develop images of what they want their life to look like, and the reality may be that they're forming those images in what I like to call la la land. So a lot of those images are based on the illusions rather than the realities. And I always say, you know, if you want a dream to come true, you can't sit in la la land waiting for it to happen.
Right.
You have to be
proactive,
steadfast in the reality of what's going on right now, who you are, what your needs are. And be firm about that. You got to learn, we have to learn to stand up for ourselves and stop tolerating all of the craziness, and particularly other people's craziness. Look, we each have craziness of our own. So if I have my own craziness, I don't want no part of your craziness, you know? It's all I can do to handle my own stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think there's a lot of decisions that need to be made right here and now, not after COVID is over. But here and now, so that when COVID is over, you'll be prepared to take off and to begin to reconstruct your life in such a way that it brings joy and fulfillment and contentment and all the good stuff that you really want. And all the good stuff that we want, we already have. You know, it's just that we're so busy looking at the unrealistic side of life, and we get caught up in that web of craziness that a lot of times reality is smacking us right in the face, but we're not focusing on it. We're not dealing with it, because it's so much easier to sit in the illusion than it is to stand in the reality.
Right. And I also think, you know, we became a society of want. And I think the pandemic made us take a step back and say, okay, do I need it or do I want it? You know, there's a big difference when you're choosing even things within your life. You know, do I need that in my life, or do I want that in my life? And I think we've been able to take a little breather and kind of look at that, because I do think, like I said, we had started to become a real big society and want, you know, and
and
then
it's gotten crazy.
Yeah, and then when you die, your kids throw all that crap out anyway. So what's the difference?
Exactly. You know, one of my Mama C's love lessons, I spoke about how if people would focus on their needs and take care of their needs, they would find that their wants would be a whole lot easier to achieve. But when you're ignoring your needs and chasing your wants, your needs, all the things you need that you're now not paying attention to are falling by the wayside. You're not paying your rent. You're not taking care of your bills. You're not paying your car note, because you're chasing, you're going after what you want, you know, and you're forgetting that the stress that a lot of people experience comes from their wants and ignoring their needs. And that's a big problem. When we learn how valuable our needs are to the process of our living the kinds of lives that we want to live, people's whole attitude would flip. And what we begin to do would become more in alignment with what we need to do for ourselves, for our families. And I think at this point in our lives, I think it's so much more important for us, particularly women who are in our 60s and older. It's so important that we realize how important we are. I have to say, the wonderful thing about aging is wisdom. I have the wisdom now that I didn't have when I was a younger woman. You know, I couldn't see reality clearly because I was stuck in the illusions. You know, and thinking that the things that I wanted were going to happen if I just held in there, if I just stuck with it. You know, and I think as women, we're taught to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I hear you, babies.
There's somebody walking their dog. I agree 100%. I also think we need to, as you get older, you prioritize differently too, right?
Absolutely.
You really prioritize life in a whole different way. And I think that along the reason that we do that is because we do have the scars and the, you know, and the wrinkles and all of that shows what we've been through in our lives.
Absolutely. You know, I was sitting here before the show started and I said to my daughter, I said, oh, I'm getting turkey neck. I'm like, oh, okay, you know.
Yeah.
But you know what? You can't escape the aging process.
No.
And if you haven't really taken exceptional care of yourself, that aging process is going to catch up with you faster than you'd like.
Yes.
But you know what? I think that once we realize that we are the masters of our destiny and begin to take the reins or the steering wheel and say, no, I'm not going that way because everybody else is going that way. I'm going this way because I feel my intuitive senses are telling me this is what I need to do for me.
Yes.
And sometimes we play follow the leader to the extent where we end up somewhere we're like, where am I? And how the hell did I get here?
And who am I?
And who am I?
Yeah. Identity. Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of us do lose a lot of people lose their identity. I have to say, thank God. That's something I never did, was lose my identity. Always felt a sense of self, you know? And I think that, you know, in order to create a better norm, that we have to be good with who we are, what phase of life we're in, and grow from there. I'm 66. I'm never going to be 26 again.
Right.
At best 76, you know, 86, you know, but not 26 or 46 or, you know, so who am I right now? And what are my needs right now? And how can I take care of those needs? And once this COVID situation has come to a conclusion, what do I want to do? Where am I going? You know, what is life going to be like? Well, I think that whatever life is going to be like is up to us to decide that for ourselves. And then, yes, there are ups and downs and all arounds, and always will be for the duration of our lifetimes. But we do have control. God did give us a certain amount of control. It's just that people don't exercise that control because they've been taught to be fearful. And that fear creates anxiety. It creates a whole lot of blockages that keep us from believing that we can achieve, that we can attain, that we are worthy, that we are beautiful at every phase of our lives. You know what? I have to laugh when I look at the physiological changes of my body. And, you know, but I love me now. I'm not sitting here saying, damn, I wish I looked the way I looked when I was 26 or whatever. I love what this phase of life brings to the table.
I do too.
And I'm satisfied with that, you know, and I think that, you know, we have to step out of these emotions, that the uncertainty, the fear, the anxiety, confusion, you know, and become more resilient. Because resiliency will get you through anything. If you want to be a wimp, you better be very clear that being wimpy only gets you but so far in life. And really not that far at all, you know? So, you know, we have to, you know, stop being disappointed about what happened, because what has happened has happened. So how do we make the best of it? How do we make the best of life growing forward? And that's so important for us all to kind of take the time and sit and develop a plan for ourselves, you know, and be okay with it. And maybe that plan won't work out the way you planned it. Sometimes it just happens to work out better.
Right. Or goals, you know, set goals for yourself. Even, you know, like I had someone say to me, oh my gosh, you're still setting goals. You're getting older. And I'm like, yeah, I'm setting goals. I'm always going to have a goal. Something I want to accomplish, something I want to do. Cupcake. Something I want to, something that I want to, you know, I want to contribute. I want to still contribute, you know, something positive to my community, to the world, I think it's important because it not only gives you something to look forward to, but I think it keeps you young at heart. We could put our age, the number, on a board, and we can look at that every day and go, oh my God, I'm getting old. Or you can put that number on there and say, I'm wiser,
yes,
smarter, I'm better, and I'm still going to go after what I want.
absolutely.
I'm going to do all those things.
Yeah.
So I think we're all our own. I think sometimes the word disability comes in many forms. We can disable ourselves from moving forward, right?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And we gotta put blockages between us and emotions that don't support the best of who we are and the best of what we want and the best of what we are entitled to. I know this is a word that I hear a lot, entitlement, but you know what? There's some of us who are entitled. Why? Because we've done the work. We've earned our wings.
We paid our dues. Yeah.
We have absolutely at this phase of our lives earned the right to do certain things and to enjoy our lives. And you know what? I always tell people, I'm too busy to grow old, get sick, or die. And I mean it. I mean, yes, sickness tries to catch up with me every now and then, but I keep moving.
Right.
But I think that when we have a life, we got to create lives that we love. People don't create lives that we love. They just allow life to drag them through the muck and mire of life.
To exist. They only create lives to exist, but not to really live.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I know people who make tons and tons of money are the most unhappiest people. But they don't want to give that up because to them that's important. I think as I've gotten older, I realize I can live off of less and be just as happy or happier.
Absolutely. When I left my job, oh God, in 2001, I think it was, the farther I get away from it, the less I remember. I was well established. I made good money. I had things, all the things people said or made you believe made you happy. And it wasn't that I was unhappy, but I didn't feel a sense of fulfillment. There was something missing. So, I walked away from it. And I think people thought I was nuts because who walks away from a good salary, a beautiful home and, life as they knew it and had worked so hard to grow it.
Right.
But I knew it was time. I think people don't realize that when it's time to move on, what happens is if you don't, you become more miserable.
Yes.
Yes, moving on can be scary as heck. Let me tell you, I think that move I made threw me into one of the deepest depressions I've ever been in. But I was still determined. I don't know. I just felt inside of me that there was a calling on my life. It was time for me to move to the next level. You can't move to the next level in life if you won't move.
Exactly. Right.
Growth requires growth.
Yeah.
And
participation. You have to participate in.
Yeah, you got proactive. You said, you got to proactively be engaged with life. And yes, sometimes we'll make mistakes and oops, I didn't mean for that to happen, or oops, okay, that wasn't the right door to go through. I'll come back through that door and keep moving along the journey of life. And any door, I'm not afraid to go through doors. And I think as we age, we get a grip on that fear thing, many of us do. Some of us do, many of us don't. And we are not going to allow fear to shackle us or keep us from living, because just because you hit your 60s and your 70s doesn't mean you don't have plenty of life to live, that life can't be enjoyable, that you can't, if you're a widow or if you're divorced, that you can't find new love. You know what I'm saying? You just got to be open to it. But if you're not open to it, or you say, oh, well, I'm not the person I used to be, or, I'm not as sexy as I used to be, or I'm not as, energetic as I used to be. A lot of times we find excuses for digging holes that we get in and then pull the dirt over our heads.
Yeah.
A lot of people sit and they wait for death. I always tell people, Grim Reaper gonna have to catch me, because I'm not sitting around waiting for death.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay?
I hear
All right.
you.
That doesn't make sense to me. I know that I have a term limit here on this planet. But the bottom line here is, until that term limit is up, I'm going to live fully. I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm going to be the best me I can be, whether it's right now in this moment of COVID or post-COVID. We've got to decide right now, not sit and wait till this is all over to try and figure out, well, what next, or where do I go? The process has to begin now. And when COVID hit, my daughter and I began as soon as COVID hit, making plans, shifting gears, shifting lanes, doing different things, because we knew once we came out of this, it was going to be a whole different world.
Oh, yeah.
The world as we once knew it is not going to exist anymore.
Exactly. And maybe it shouldn't.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe it shouldn't.
I agree.
Maybe it is time for the change. It's time to, I'm grateful. I'm going to be 68 years old, and I was thinking about this today. I'm grateful that I have witnessed so many great things that have happened in this world.
Yeah.
And although, COVID has come and it's, done a lot of bad things, it's also done a lot of good things. And I think so. The best of that is yet to come as well. I agree with you for sure about planning. This is a good opportunity to be in the planning stage now as to what you want to see come up next in your life, or your family's life, or your career, or whatever.
Absolutely. And for people who are married and have partners, look at your partner and say, where are we going to go from here? Yeah. What is life going to look like for us? Yeah. And are we going to move to that next level together? A lot of people look up, and why the divorce rate has grown during this time is that a lot of people look up and they realize they don't even like the person that they're married to. They wake up in the morning, they look over at that person and they don't like them. Right. But they put up with them. They think that they have to tolerate less than what they deserve. Well, I say to those people, no, you don't. But if you choose to, that's on you. You can't blame anybody else for the choices you make. If it's time to move on, no matter what the situation is, whether it be a job, whether it be additional education or training or a hobby, or, just deciding that you're going to step outside your front door and see how beautiful life really is, rather than being depressed about the situation, rather than being disappointed in life and the situation in general right now. Yeah. Rather than feeling a sense of hopelessness. And I recognize a lot of people are grieving right now. They're grieving the life that once was. Yes. And even people who didn't have the life they wanted, some of them are grieving that too, because they don't know where to go. They don't know what's next. But these are things we need to sit down and we need to decide for ourselves. What's next? Where am I going from here? Mm-hmm. Am I going to be, I always tell people we're like explorers on this planet. Our job is to explore, experience, and expand before we exit. Yes. But a lot of people,
that's great. I love that. That's great.
A lot of people are afraid to move forward they're just afraid. So they think that what's ahead is less than what they have, even if what they have is nothing that they feel a sense of fulfillment with, but they're willing to hang in there and hang on. But hanging in there and hanging on is not always the best piece of advice that we could give anybody or even ourselves. When it's time to move on, it's time to move on. And we know that. It's like when I left my job, it was time for me to grow to the next level. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I gave up everything to get where I am right now. I didn't know this is where I was going to end up. I didn't know that I'd be doing a show, that I'd create shows, that I would be living in a place that is just, I mean, absolutely incredible. But I would never have known if I hadn't stepped out, if I hadn't found courage.
Aren't you don't you feel more peaceful than you did when you were in that mode of career minded and going to work, working 12 hours a day and giving it your all, you know?
Absolutely.
Aren't you more at peace in your soul now?
The garden of my soul is clapping and giving me a standing ovation every morning when I wake up. I am so thankful. I was scared to death when I left that job, because right after I left that job, the 9/11 incident happened. Everything shut down in New York. My plan was I was going to take the money, the buyout money, and I was going to live on that money for the entire summer. In September, I was going to begin job. Who? Oh, okay. I was going to begin to job hunt and do whatever I had to do to, because I just had no clue at the time where I was going or what. All I know is that I had made this choice to move on. And I tell you, some real difficult things happened during that time. And like I said, I became probably more depressed than I'd ever been in my entire life because I was scared. I didn't know where I was going. I had built this fabulous life for myself. And I didn't know where I was going. I had not a clue. But you know what? I had to trust in myself.
Right.
I had to believe in myself. I had to have faith. And so when I sold my co-op in New York and we moved here to the Poconos, it took me about a year or so to recoup and regroup. And once I did, oh boy, there was just no stopping me. And now I'm like, I'm super charged up. Even on the days when I have to get out of bed, like, oh God, my whole body hurts today. You know, but just the idea that I have a life that I love, that is nurturing me in ways that I never imagined, that fuels my spirit and keeps me soaring. And so I don't have everything I'd like. You know, sometimes we're trying to figure out, okay, all right, do we have enough money for groceries this week? Do we, okay, what's the situation with the heating oil? And, you know, we're juggling. I told my daughter, we're probably the greatest jugglers on the money jugglers on the planet. But you know what? Everything we're doing now is going to lead us to opportunities where we won't have to juggle anymore.
Exactly.
But in the meantime, we're doing what we have to do to keep life going, to keep you know, everything moving in a direction forward and upward. It takes work. And I see why people don't do it. I see why people don't start businesses for themselves. I see why they stay in a job for 50 years and then they retire and die. I get it. But let me tell you, that's existing. People don't realize that is not living. That's existing. And you're existing on somebody else's plan.
Yeah. You know, I had an uncle, and it was always interesting to me. I really didn't understand his theory until I got older, but he used to say to me, Janie, when you get out of high school, you should be able to retire.
Really?
And
would that be a nice thing to do?
And then he'd say this to me. And then you get to do that retiring thing till maybe you're 40. And then you go and get a career. And you work that career until you die. And I'd say, why? And he'd say, because when you're young, you don't appreciate the finer things until you're too old to appreciate them. So when that's what he used to tell me. And so he'd say, I think we've got to revert. I think we need to reverse it. I think you need to go into retirement first, do all those things, and then go into your career, because you'll appreciate the career better. You'll be smarter. You'll be more life smart. Yeah, he was really a true believer in that.
And you know
what?
He
didn't work much either. So I'm just saying.
You know what? That makes a lot of sense, because you know what?
Yeah.
I think that it takes a while to figure out who we are.
Yes.
It takes a while to figure out what we want.
Yeah.
It takes a while to figure out where we're going.
Yeah.
It takes a while to figure out this thing people call love.
Yeah.
Which is our natural nature.
Yeah.
And until we reconnect to our natural nature and learn to love ourselves wholeheartedly, unconditionally, you know what? I think most of us are just grabbing at straws. We just don't have a clue. And so we're just kind of going along with the program. And some people never stop with that program.
Right.
And say, hey, there's got to be more to life than this. And that's kind of sort of what I did. I'm like, there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was, because I found the courage to step out of where I was.
Yeah.
In order to get to where I am. And from where I am, I'm going further. But where I am right now, I've learned to enjoy the gift of the present moment. People are so busy hanging out in the past or hip-hopping over into the future and hanging out there somewhere. Okay, this is what I want. I want this mansion, and I want a Maserati, and okay, I want 10 coats, and I want this and I want that. And they missed out on what's going on right now.
Yeah.
The gift of the present moment. The present is called the present because it's a gift.
Yes. Yeah.
And so while we're sitting and we're hibernating for the moment, because it's necessary for our health, for our overall well-being.
Yeah.
We've got to start making some plans for those who haven't started already. Because like I said, when this all broke out, my daughter and I, we shifted gears and began to develop a business and grow from there, because, I think we knew intuitively that once this was all over, life was going to be totally different. And if we didn't decide what it was going to be for ourselves, then somebody else would.
Right.
And then there we go. We're following somebody else's blueprint for life. Go ahead.
And I think, you accomplished so much in your career. You made strides and goals. And I also think when we do that, of course we do it. We're motivated to do it. But I also think society expects certain things, dynamics of how we're supposed to live our lives. Instead of us living the lives we want, we live the lives we're expected to live. Absolutely. And I think that holds us back from happiness and peacefulness, and
it holds us hostage.
Yes. I really do believe that. My dad, who those of you that know, he was not a great guy, and we lived in a very turbulent household. But he always had he would tell us, you need to be that, and you need to do this, and well, what about what I want to do? What about what I feel I need?
Absolutely.
We were governed by him. And then if you get married, and I didn't have this type of marriage, but sometimes that can also, someone could be telling you, no, I want you to be this and I want you to be that. And I think for you were able to break out of that mold. You broke out of it, and you said, no, I want to head in a different direction. And yes, scary. And yes, fear. And sometimes those very things will hold you back from finding, what you really want to do. But I do think society expects certain things from us that, we either, like you said, become hostage to, or we break out of and go, no, I'm not going to go in that direction. And then live with.
And that's how I raised my daughter. Go ahead. I raised my daughter to be her own person. I didn't tell her how to live her life. Yeah. I kind of helped guide her in ways that were healthy as best I knew how. But I didn't say I didn't tell her I wanted her to be a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, electrician, engineer, politician, none of that. Because you see, it's all about her being who she is, not who I want her to be. A lot of people, there's a phrase that I cringe every time I hear it. Oh, that's my mini me. No, I've never called my daughter my mini me, because she is her fabulous self.
Right.
And I don't want her to be who I am. I want the God spirit in her to guide her. And I want the same for my grandchildren. We support them. We make sure that they get the education, and we make sure that they get a good foundation with respect to who they are and what it means to be a good human being. But we're not telling any of them, oh, this is what you should be, or you should do this, or you should do that. No.
Yeah.
As they evolve, they'll figure that out.
Yeah, I think that so often as parents, our children will, tell us what they dream of, what their dreams are. And then there are parents who those dreams, their children's dreams, become the parents' reality, and the kids went on to another dream. You know what I mean? So they force feed that down the throat of their own child. Well, you said you wanted to be a doctor, so we're saving all this money for you to be a doctor, and then and then the guilt comes and for the child, and it can have long-term repercussions.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think to their self-esteem.
Absolutely. And I think everybody who's stuck in that place right now need to decide that they're going to break free, because they have the ability to break free. Those of you who are listening, who are watching, you have the ability to break free, to be your own person, to live your own life. It's not about what your parents want. It's about who you are, who you were created to be, what your passion is.
Yeah.
And I always say our job as parents is to help nurture their passion, not our failures. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because a lot of people feel that they were failures growing up. So now I want my child to be successful. So she's going to be a doctor, or she's going to be a lawyer, or she's going to be the president of the United States. No, what is in that child's heart? I think the COVID time has given us all the opportunity to look at life, to look at ourselves, to look at each other, to look at our children so much different, and help construct a new normal that brings us all to a place that is healthy and nurturing and supportive. And I think we need to really, really kick hatred to the curb.
Yeah.
This is our time. We got to kick hatred and divisiveness and segregation and just all of those negative things that go against our natural nature.
And it holds you back.
Yeah, and it holds you back. Exactly. You know, I don't want to be bothered with anybody who hates any other race of people, who are afraid of other races of people. I mean, we learn from each other. We grow with each other. Yeah. That's the natural state of progression of human life. Evolution is a process that we all are following. Whether we like it or not, evolution is taking us to where we're going. Yeah. But if we're gonna fight making the changes we need to make for ourselves and learn to just love each other. I think in the Bible it says that we should God commands that we love ourselves, love each other, love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Right. Well, the problem with that particular scripture is most people don't love themselves. So if you don't love yourself, how do you love somebody else? Right. You got to begin to love yourself, your flaws, your faults, your lumps, your bumps, your ups, your downs, your all around. You got to learn to love yourself no matter what. And then there are days when you just laugh. You just have to laugh. There are days I just have to laugh because the picture of what I wanted, in some cases, I was way off the mark. In other cases, I was on the mark. Yeah. But you know what? The changes we need to make to improve the quality of our lives is up to us. Yes. It's not up to somebody else who says, oh, well, you should be this or you should do that. Society has created such a divisive system of growth that we're not even operating in our normal nature. Right. And if we're not operating in our normal nature, then what are we getting? A lot of us are getting a whole lot of stuff we don't want.
And unhappiness. You're unhappy. And when you're unhappy, you see the negativity in everything. And I don't want that in my, I don't want negativity. I want progressiveness. I want to look forward to something. And when you talk about laughter, I'm telling you, I live alone, and there are times when I do things around here and I like step back and go, oh, and laugh at myself because I'm like, I can't even believe I just did that, like crazy little stupid things. But I think you have to have the capacity of laughing at yourself, and you have to accept it. We're human beings. We were given a brain, and we were given that for a reason, for free choice. And you make the choices in your life, but you also have the capability of changing those choices
at any time you feel it's necessary. Right. But we've been, and particularly women, we've been taught to put up with stuff. Yeah. We've been taught to hang in there. And who does that benefit? It doesn't benefit us. If we're hanging in with a situation that doesn't work for us, if we are just becoming so stagnant that we can literally feel our lives draining out of us. Come on, there's something wrong with that picture. That's abject craziness, I think. And so, you know what? I think that people really at this particular time, because we have the time, and probably we may never have this kind of time ever again. Right. At least in any of our lifetimes. Mm-hmm. Take the time to figure out who you are. Connect to the authenticity of yourself. There are so many fake and phony people out here that it just like, just want to just gag sometimes when you come in contact with them. I mean, I turn my hind cheeks and I move gradually away from them. I don't insult them. Those are the cheeks that I turn. Okay. I'm not going to allow you to do something to me over and over and over again with the hope that you won't do it again. but you keep doing it over and over again.
Yes.
That's the definition of insanity. You keep doing the same, we keep doing the same thing and expecting different results from the same. Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes absolutely no sense.
No, it does not.
You know, so, you know, if we're looking to come out of this and go back to what life once was, not gonna happen. And I think that's the reality everybody has to accept. So this is the time you take control of your own life and decide after you come through this, what is your life gonna look like?
Yeah.
Are you gonna feel a sense of more control over your life? Yes, it's hard. Life is hard, you know. Hey, what's that saying? Ain't nobody promised us a rose garden.
Right.
It's true, unless we plan it ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
and we get now the opportunity to create the kind of life we may have always wanted.
Absolutely.
You know, and be happy about it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. You know what? There's something I was saying to one of my grandchildren. I forgot what we were talking about. And I said, you know what? You have to always say to yourself, I'd rather be happy than right. You know, a lot of people are so into being right that they give up the right to be happy. So with me, I'm not going to argue with anybody. I'm not going to fight with anybody. If you say to me, 2 and 2 is 8, you're right. I'll move on, okay? Because, you know, some people you just can't tell anything to. You know, I remember when I was younger and the older folks used to say, can't tell those young folks nothing. And now that I am one of the older folks, that still holds true. But I think a lot of young folks need to start listening to us, some of the wisdom that we're imparting, because how well they're able to come out of this situation and where they go as they evolve, because the process of evolution doesn't stop because of certain situations. As they evolve, are they going to be in charge? Are they going to take part in their evolutionary process, their growth process? Or are they just going to let life and its mores kind of pull them into a life that's not even enjoyable? You know what I'm saying? So we have got to be very clear, I think. And I'd like to, I kind of jotted down something I'm just going to read because we're in our final moments. We got 3 minutes. I'm going to read this real quick. If you think you have the personal power to reinvent, reform, reimagine, and regroup in your own new normal, then you are absolutely correct. You do. But if you think you don't have the personal power to reinvent, reform, reimagine, and regroup within the new normal, then you are also correct. You don't. It's all about how we think.
Yes.
For those of you who choose to enrich your life with new skills, new beliefs, and new behaviors, know that you will become more empowered as you become the creator of your new normal. Jane and I look forward to seeing you on the other side in this new normal.
Yes, we have great plans.
Absolutely. You know, where we will work, build, rest, play, enjoy, and feel a sense of renewal and unity. As we work together and grow forward, let's collectively agree to become bigger, better, and bolder than ever before. Jane, on that note, we've come to the end of our program today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Always a joy. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, and we will continue to do this because we have great conversations.
Oh, yes, we will.
So for all of you who tuned in this evening, thank you. I hope you got something positive from it that you can apply to your life. And be sure to join me again next week where we're going to talk about our bodies, our health. Until then, everyone have a great rest of the week.
Now come on, let's talk about it. Sistahship, we got this. Now come on, let's talk about it. Sistahship, we got this.